Chapter 1. The Power Within You. In our modern world, where we are constantly surrounded by distractions, quick fixes, and the allure of immediate gratification, the concept of self-control may feel like an ancient ideal, almost out of reach for many. Yet, the power to control yourself, to master your emotions, your actions, and your impulses remains the ultimate definition of true power. The kind of power that leads to lasting success, genuine fulfillment, and personal transformation. We are all familiar with the times when we act impulsively, that extra slice of cake when we promised ourselves we wouldn't. The quick scroll through social media when we had planned to be productive, or the moments when our anger gets the best of us, leading to regrets. These actions feel fleeting, but they carry weight. Each moment of weakness, no matter how small, chips away at our confidence, at our sense of self-respect, and at the path we're trying to walk toward a better life. But here's the truth. The ability to act according to our long-term goals, rather than the short-term temptations that surround us, is what distinguishes those who achieve great things from those who are stuck in cycles of regret. It's about being able to look beyond the immediate satisfaction of the moment, and instead choose actions that align with your highest values, your true purpose, and your long-term vision. Self-control isn't about perfection. It's not about never having a slip-up, but rather, it's about the commitment to keep going, to correct course when needed, and to stay true to your deeper sense of purpose. It's about knowing that your greatest asset is your mind and your ability to shape your life, moment by moment, choice by choice. But understanding self-control as a concept is only the beginning. To truly harness its power, we must explore the underlying forces that shape our behavior, the psychological mechanisms that often drive us to act against our better judgment. These forces are not random. They are deeply rooted in our evolutionary past and the way our brains have developed over time. Our ancestors, living in a world where food was scarce and danger was ever present, relied heavily on impulse-driven reactions. In those times, the ability to act quickly, without hesitation, was a matter of survival. If you saw food, you ate it immediately. If there was a threat, you reacted without thinking. But in today's world, these same impulses, while still present, are no longer as necessary for survival. In fact, they can often work against us. The power of self-control lies in understanding this shift, understanding that the world around us no longer demands immediate reactions, but rather thoughtful, deliberate decisions. When you can start to recognize the difference between your instincts and your conscious choices, you can begin to take control. You can start to see how much influence you truly have over the life you're living. And with this realization, you begin to understand the true definition of power. Think about a time when you had a long-term goal, whether it was to lose weight, save money, learn a new skill, or improve a relationship. In that moment, the path ahead seemed clear. But as time passed, distractions crept in. Temptations arose. Maybe you found yourself making excuses or procrastinating. Maybe you faltered in your resolve, telling yourself that just this once wouldn't hurt. Yet, in those moments of weakness, you were giving up your power. You were allowing the temporary distractions to steer you off course, away from the life you truly wanted. The journey to mastering self-control, however, doesn't require rigid willpower or a complete overhaul of your behavior. It requires something much more profound: awareness. Awareness of your impulses, of your triggers, and of the deeper desires that drive your actions. When you can bring awareness into every moment, you begin to break free from automatic reactions and gain the ability to choose how you respond. Awareness is the first step in transforming your life through self-control. It's the space between stimulus and response, where you have the opportunity to choose your reaction. It's where your power lies. And once you begin to practice awareness, you'll start to realize that you have far more control over your life than you might have believed. In the chapters that follow, we'll explore the deeper aspects of self-control, the psychology behind habits and behavior, how to reprogram your mind for lasting change, and how to build the discipline and consistency that will set you on the path to true personal power. But let's start with the basics. How do we begin to understand the forces at play in our own minds? How do we tap into the potential for self-control that resides within us, even when our instincts push us in the opposite direction? It begins with self-awareness, with acknowledging that your mind, so like a powerful muscle, needs practice, discipline, and care. Just as you wouldn't expect to run a marathon without training, you cannot expect to have perfect self-control without first learning how to train your mind. In this book, we will build on that foundation, helping you understand the nuances of self-control and the practical ways you can begin to apply it in your own life. The journey may not always be easy, but it is always worth it. Each step you take toward mastering yourself is a step toward greater freedom, greater achievement, and greater personal power. When you learn to control yourself, you're not just restricting yourself, you are empowering yourself. The discipline you cultivate today will lay the foundation for the extraordinary life you can live tomorrow. So, as you listen, begin to reflect on your own habits, your own impulses, and the moments where you've let go of control. Know that each of these moments is a chance to learn, to grow, and to move one step closer to mastering your own power. Now take a deep breath, settle into your space, and prepare yourself for the journey ahead. This is the beginning of a profound transformation, one that will empower you to take control of your life, your mind, and your future. As we dive deeper into the concept of self-control, it's essential to understand the role of the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, while powerful, operates on automatic patterns that are often formed in our early life. These patterns shape how we respond to the world around us, often without us even realizing it. Our impulses, our reactions, and the decisions we make daily are all deeply rooted in this subconscious programming. Think of it this way. The subconscious mind is like a vast storage warehouse, filled with everything you've learned, experienced, and absorbed over the course of your life. Every conversation, every advertisement, every trauma, and every joy, it's all stored there. And when a situation arises that triggers one of these stored patterns, your subconscious mind leaps into action, guiding your response without conscious thought. For instance, if you've ever faced a stressful situation and found yourself reaching for comfort food, that's your subconscious at work. Perhaps as a child, you learned that food could bring comfort in times of distress. Over time, that association became deeply ingrained in your mind. And now, as an adult, when stress arises, your automatic response is to seek comfort in food. These automatic responses are not inherently bad. In fact, they often serve us in ways we might not even notice. But in many cases, these subconscious patterns can also hinder our growth, especially when they're based on outdated or unhelpful beliefs. If you've struggled with procrastination, for example, it could be because of a subconscious belief that you are not worthy of success, or that you'll never be good enough. Every time you sit down to work, that belief might cause you to procrastinate, even though your conscious mind wants to take action. So, how do we break free from these automatic patterns? The first step is awareness, as we've discussed. But awareness alone isn't enough. You need to actively reprogram your mind, and that requires intentional effort. Reprogramming your subconscious mind doesn't happen overnight, but it's possible through consistent practice and reflection. One of the most powerful tools for reprogramming your subconscious is through affirmations. These are positive statements that, when repeated consistently, begin to rewire the way your mind operates. For instance, if you struggle with self-doubt, you might start affirming, "I am worthy of success. I have the power to create the life I want." When you repeat these affirmations daily, they begin to infiltrate your subconscious, slowly replacing negative beliefs with positive ones. But self-control isn't just about changing thoughts or beliefs. It's also about understanding the underlying emotions that drive those actions. Emotions play a significant role in our decision-making process. In fact, emotions can be one of the most powerful forces behind the choices we make. We all know the feeling of anger, frustration, or sadness, influencing us to make decisions that we later regret. Understanding your emotions is a crucial step in gaining self-control. Emotions are not bad or wrong. They are a natural part of the human experience. But when emotions dictate your actions, you lose your ability to act consciously and deliberately. To regain control, You must learn to observe your emotions without allowing them to dictate your behavior. This means becoming aware of your emotional state in real time and choosing how to respond to it rather than reacting impulsively. Think about a time when you were angry and lashed out at someone, perhaps a loved one. In that moment, your anger controlled your response. But with self-awareness, you can learn to pause, breathe, and recognize the emotion for what it is. You can choose to respond in a way that aligns with your values, rather than giving in to the impulse to lash out. In learning to manage your emotions, you are learning the true essence of self-control, the ability to respond to life's challenges with intention, rather than simply reacting out of habit or emotion. This is where true power lies in the ability to choose your response, no matter the circumstances. But it's not just about managing negative emotions. Self-control also means being able to delay gratification, to resist the pull of immediate rewards in favor of long-term gains. In our modern world, we are surrounded by instant gratification from social media, to fast food, to on-demand entertainment. We've been conditioned to expect instant results. But the most fulfilling and meaningful achievements in life are rarely the result of quick fixes. They are the result of consistent, sustained effort over time. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline is the muscle of self-control. It's the ability to stay committed to your goals, even when the going gets tough, even when the distractions are overwhelming, and even when the rewards seem far off. Discipline requires you to make small, positive choices every day that move you closer to your long-term vision. It's easy to stay disciplined when things are going well, but true discipline is tested during times of difficulty. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, or when you're feeling discouraged, that's when discipline is most important. Again, it's in those moments that you have the opportunity to choose how you respond, whether you give in to temptation or whether you stay true to your commitment. Consider the story of someone training for a marathon. They wake up early every morning to run, even when it's cold, even when they're tired, and even when they'd rather stay in bed. They might not see immediate results from every run, but they know that each step is moving them closer to their goal. This is the power of discipline. It's the ability to keep going, even when the rewards aren't immediate. It's about making consistent progress, day after day, towards something greater. Discipline combined with emotional awareness and a commitment to reprogramming your subconscious creates a powerful foundation for self-control. But there's one more crucial element to this process: consistency. Consistency is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who falter along the way. It's not about grand gestures or overnight success. It's about showing up, day after day, with the determination to do what needs to be done. Success isn't built on a single moment of brilliance. It's built on the small, consistent actions you take every day. When you practice consistency, you reinforce the habit of self-control. You prove to yourself that you have the ability to stay committed, to stay focused, and to keep moving forward. And with each day, you build more momentum until self-control becomes second nature. As you begin to cultivate self-control, remember that it's not about being perfect. There will be setbacks, mistakes, and moments of weakness. But with awareness, emotional intelligence, discipline, and consistency, you will continue to grow stronger, more empowered, and more capable of achieving your dreams. The power of self-control is not a distant ideal. It's something that is within you, right now. It's about learning to tap into that power, to master your mind and your actions, and to take control of your future, one deliberate choice at a time. To understand the true power of self-control, we must first dive deep into the nature of the mind itself. Our minds are the lens through which we perceive the world, and they are the driving force behind every action we take. But what is the mind, and how does it shape our behavior? At its core, the mind is a complex system, constantly processing information, storing memories, and interpreting experiences. It is divided into two primary parts: the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the part of you that is aware of your thoughts, actions, and environment in the present moment. It is the part of your mind that you actively control, that makes decisions, and that observes the world around you. But while the conscious mind is the one we engage with daily, it is the subconscious mind that holds the true power. The subconscious mind is responsible for storing all the information that you've ever encountered: your experiences, your beliefs, your fears, and your habits. It operates automatically, running the vast majority of the mental processes that guide your life without you even realizing it. In many ways, the subconscious is like a large database, constantly processing and sorting information. However, no, it doesn't distinguish between helpful or harmful input. It simply stores whatever you expose it to and then uses this information to drive your behavior. This is why so much of our behavior is automatic, why we find ourselves repeating patterns, and why we often feel like we are running on autopilot. The subconscious mind is like a sponge, absorbing everything from the moment we are born. Early experiences, cultural conditioning, and family dynamics play a large role in shaping our subconscious beliefs and responses. For example, if you grew up in an environment where you were constantly told that you weren't good enough, that belief can become ingrained in your subconscious. As a result, you may find yourself subconsciously sabotaging opportunities or holding back from pursuing your goals, even though consciously you want success. The power of self-control lies in recognizing that the subconscious is not fixed. Just because you have always acted a certain way doesn't mean that you are destined to continue down that path. Through awareness and conscious effort, you can reprogram your subconscious mind, replacing old, unhelpful patterns with new, empowering ones. One of the first steps in gaining self-control is recognizing how the subconscious influences your decisions. You may not be aware of it, but many of your daily actions are driven by subconscious programming. Your impulses, whether it's reaching for unhealthy food, procrastinating, or reacting emotionally, are often the result of deeply ingrained patterns. These patterns were created over time, often through repeated behaviors and external influences, and they now shape how you respond to the world. But the mind is not a static entity. It is malleable and adaptable. This is where the concept of neuroplasticity comes in. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. When you consistently challenge your subconscious patterns, when you consciously choose to act differently, you are rewiring your brain. Each time you make a conscious choice that aligns with your long-term goals, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that behavior, making it easier to repeat in the future. This is why small, consistent actions are so important in developing self-control. It's not about making dramatic changes all at once. It's about taking one small, deliberate step at a time, reinforcing the new patterns you want to establish. Over time, these small steps accumulate, gradually shifting the way your mind operates. Another critical component of understanding the mind is recognizing the role of emotions. Emotions are powerful forces that influence our thoughts and behavior, often in ways we don't fully comprehend. When we feel anxious, stressed, or overwhelmed, our emotional state can dictate our decisions, leading us to seek immediate relief or comfort. The challenge, however, is that emotional relief is often short-lived. When you act impulsively to soothe an emotion, whether through eating, spending money, or avoiding difficult tasks, you may feel better temporarily, but the underlying issue remains. And in some cases, you may even feel worse afterward, because the emotional relief was never truly satisfying. This is why emotional intelligence is so important in developing self-control. Emotional intelligence involves the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions in a healthy way. It is about acknowledging your feelings, but not letting them control you. When you can practice emotional awareness, you can make conscious decisions rather than simply reacting to what you feel in the moment. Consider the example of stress. In today's world, stress is something almost everyone experiences at some point, whether due to work, relationships, or other life challenges. When you're stressed, your mind and body can go into fight or flight mode, urging you to act quickly to relieve the tension. However, if you act on that impulse, by eating junk food, for example, or skipping an important task, you may temporarily feel better, but the stress will still be there. Instead, if you take a step back and practice emotional intelligence, You can learn to manage the stress in a more productive way. You might take a few deep breaths, go for a walk, or engage in a healthy activity that helps to release the tension without indulging in an unhealthy impulse. This practice of emotional awareness and self regulation is a key aspect of self control. But emotional intelligence alone isn't enough to cultivate true self control. You also need to develop the capacity to delay gratification. This is one of the most important aspects of self control, and it's often where many people struggle. In a world that constantly rewards instant gratification, the ability to delay immediate rewards in favor of long term gains is what sets apart those who succeed from those who don't. This concept of delayed gratification was famously studied by psychologist Walter Mischel in the 1960s. In his famous marshmallow experiment, Mischel offered young children a choice. They could eat one marshmallow immediately, or they could wait 15 minutes and receive two marshmallows. The study followed these children for years, and the results were telling. Those who were able to delay gratification, who resisted the urge to eat the marshmallow, tended to have better life outcomes, including higher academic achievement and better health. The ability to delay gratification is a crucial part of self control because it requires you to think beyond the immediate moment and focus on your long term goals. It's easy to give in to the impulse for short term pleasure, but the true power lies in choosing to do what is hard now, knowing that it will lead to greater rewards later. This is where the practice of mindfulness becomes essential. Mindfulness is the ability to stay present and aware in the moment without judgment. It allows you to recognize your impulses as they arise, without acting on them immediately. Through mindfulness, you can train your mind to pause, reflect, and make conscious choices that align with your long-term vision. As you begin to understand the mind's inner workings, how the conscious and subconscious minds interact, how emotions influence behavior, and how delayed gratification is key to long-term success, you will begin to see that self-control is not an external force you're trying to impose on yourself. It is an internal power that you can tap into at any time. By understanding the mind, you unlock the door to self-mastery. You begin to see that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are not random. They are within your control. And once you realize this, you can start taking deliberate action to rewire your brain, shift your emotional responses, and make choices that align with the life you truly want to live. Chapter 2. Understanding the Mind. As we continue our journey into understanding the mind, it's important to recognize how deeply our beliefs shape our behaviors and ultimately our ability to control ourselves. The mind is not just a neutral observer of the world, it's a powerful creator of our reality. What we believe about ourselves, about others, and about the world around us drives the decisions we make every single day. This belief system, often formed in early childhood, functions as a blueprint for how we interpret every experience and navigate through life. One of the most significant ways our beliefs shape our behavior is through the creation of internal narratives. These are the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we are capable of, and how the world works. These internal stories become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you believe that you are not good enough, that you will never succeed, or that life is always working against you, you will unconsciously act in ways that confirm these beliefs. You will sabotage your own efforts, give in to procrastination, or allow fear to stop you from taking action. On the other hand, if you cultivate empowering beliefs, if you start to tell yourself that you are capable, worthy, and deserving of success, your behavior will shift accordingly. You will take bold actions, push through challenges, and maintain focus on your long-term goals. The power of belief cannot be overstated because it influences every decision you make, even when you're not consciously aware of it. However, beliefs are not fixed. They are not permanent truths. They are learned and therefore they can be unlearned. This is where self-control and transformation come into play. If you've spent years believing certain limiting ideas about yourself or the world, you can choose at any moment to challenge and change those beliefs. Through mindfulness, self-awareness, and consistent practice, you can rewrite the story you've been telling yourself and shift your belief system to one that serves you rather than holds you back. To demonstrate how this works, let's consider the example of someone who has struggled with weight management for years. They may have internalized the belief that they are destined to be overweight or that they lack the discipline to change their habits. This belief creates a self-fulfilling cycle. They don't feel motivated to stick to a healthy routine, they give in to cravings, and they continue to struggle with their weight. The belief "I can't do this" drives the behavior. But what happens if that person begins to challenge that belief? What if they start telling themselves, "I am capable of making healthy choices. I have the discipline to change"? Slowly, they begin to act in accordance with their new belief. They start to make better food choices, they exercise more regularly, and over time, they see the results. And this doesn't happen because of sheer willpower alone, but because they've shifted their internal narrative. Their belief in themselves changed, and with that change, their actions followed suit. This is the essence of self-control, the ability to take charge of your beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors. It's not about suppressing desires or denying yourself enjoyment. It's about recognizing that you have the power to choose your responses to life's challenges, and that those choices, when made consistently, create the life you truly desire. But, as we've discussed, this process of transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice, patience, and consistency. It requires a deep understanding of your inner workings and a commitment to challenging the old beliefs and behaviors that no longer serve you. One of the most powerful practices for cultivating self-control is the practice of mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation is the act of focusing your attention on the present moment without judgment. It allows you to observe your thoughts, feelings, and impulses as they arise without reacting to them. This is a critical skill in developing self-control because it gives you the space to pause before reacting. Instead of impulsively grabbing the extra slice of cake or giving into anger in a stressful situation, you can observe the impulse and choose a different response. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you strengthen your ability to control your actions. You learn to respond rather than react, to make conscious decisions rather than automatic ones. And as you practice this, you begin to feel a sense of inner calm, a sense of power that comes from knowing that you are in control of your thoughts and actions, rather than being controlled by them. Mindfulness also plays a crucial role in managing emotions. Emotions, as we've discussed, can be powerful forces that influence our behavior. When we feel an emotion strongly, we can often feel like we are at the mercy of it. But mindfulness helps you create a space between the emotion and your reaction. Instead of immediately reacting to anger, sadness, or frustration, mindfulness allows you to step back, acknowledge the emotion, and choose how to respond. This is incredibly empowering because it gives you the ability to manage your emotions rather than being ruled by them. Another key element of self-control is the practice of delayed gratification, which is the ability to resist the temptation of an immediate reward in favor of a greater, long-term benefit. Delayed gratification is a skill that is developed over time, and it is closely tied to self-discipline. In our modern world, where immediate rewards are everywhere, from instant access to entertainment to fast food to online shopping, practicing delayed gratification can be challenging. However, it is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating self-control and achieving long-term success. The ability to delay gratification requires you to see the bigger picture. It requires you to recognize that the momentary pleasure of an indulgence, whether it's a sugary snack, a shopping spree, or a quick escape into entertainment, is fleeting. The true rewards come from the long-term effort, the sustained commitment to your goals, and the discipline to stay on track. Imagine this. You've set a goal to save money for a vacation, but every week, you find yourself tempted to spend on little indulgences, like a coffee at a cafe or a new pair of shoes. Each small purchase feels harmless, but when you add them up, they begin to take away from your savings. In this moment, you're faced with a choice. Give in to the instant gratification or resist the urge for a larger reward down the road. Practicing delayed gratification means making the decision to hold off on those small purchases, knowing that the vacation you've been dreaming of is far more rewarding than the fleeting pleasure of a cafe latte. This is where true self-control shines. It's not about depriving yourself, it's about making informed, conscious choices that align with your long-term vision. It's about recognizing that the temporary pleasure you might seek now is often a poor substitute for the deeper, more lasting satisfaction that comes from pursuing your goals. As you continue to strengthen your ability to delay gratification, you begin to see that the power of self-control lies not in resisting the world, but in aligning yourself with it. When you are in control of your desires, your actions, and your thoughts, you become a master of your destiny. You can pursue your dreams with a clarity and purpose that few others will ever experience. Self-control is not about denying yourself. It's about knowing your worth and your goals so deeply that no external temptation can sway you. It's about creating a life that is true to you, one decision at a time. And with every decision, every moment of self-control, now you build the life you were always meant to live. The power to change, to evolve, and to create the future you desire is already within you. All it requires is the willingness to begin, the awareness to understand your own mind, and the discipline to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacles. Chapter 3, The Building Blocks of Discipline. In the previous chapters, we explored the concept of self-control and how the mind influences our behavior. Now, it's time to take a deeper look at one of the most essential components of self-control: discipline. Discipline is the cornerstone of any lasting change, the practice that turns intentions into actions and dreams into reality. At its core, discipline is the ability to consistently choose what is best for your long-term goals, even when the immediate temptation or distraction seems more appealing. It's the quiet strength that helps you stay the course when things get difficult or when your motivation wanes. But discipline is not an innate trait that only a few lucky people are born with. It's a skill that anyone can develop, and it's built upon a foundation of small, consistent actions. Let's take a step back and think about how you approach your goals. Whether you want to lose weight, start a new business, or improve your relationships, the desire to achieve something is not enough on its own. Many people have desires, but they falter when it comes to following through. The difference between those who succeed and those who struggle is not just the desire, it's the discipline to take the necessary steps every day, regardless of how you feel in the moment. For example, think about the goal of getting in shape. It's easy to get excited at the start of the year, to set New Year's resolutions, and to declare that you'll be at the gym every morning. But as the weeks go on, motivation begins to fade. You may sleep in one morning, skip a workout another day, and before long, your new routine has fallen apart. The problem is not a lack of desire, it's a lack of discipline. Discipline isn't about feeling motivated every day. It's about showing up every day whether you feel like it or not. This is where the magic of small, consistent actions comes into play. Discipline doesn't require grand gestures or monumental effort. It requires steady, consistent action. It's about choosing to do what needs to be done, no matter how small the step may seem. When you decide to take that first step to go to the gym, to write that chapter, to make that phone call, you are reinforcing a new habit. The more you repeat the action, the more ingrained the behavior becomes. But discipline also requires something deeper, a clear sense of purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? Without a strong sense of purpose, discipline becomes a hollow practice, a mechanical routine that lacks meaning. Purpose gives your discipline power. It connects your actions to your values, to your bigger vision for your life. When your actions are aligned with a purpose that resonates deeply with you, discipline becomes not a burden, but a privilege. Let's explore an example of someone whose discipline is rooted in purpose. Imagine a writer who is working on a book. Each day, they sit at their desk and write, even when the words aren't flowing, even when the distractions are tempting. Why? Because they have a clear sense of purpose. They know that every word written brings them closer to the book that will impact the world. Their discipline is fueled by their connection to their larger goal. And that connection allows them to overcome the moments of doubt or frustration that inevitably arise along the way. Purpose doesn't just make discipline easier, it makes it sustainable. When your actions are connected to a meaningful goal, you don't have to rely solely on willpower. Instead, you are propelled by something greater than yourself, something that will carry you through the difficult moments. Discipline becomes a tool for fulfilling your purpose. And when you view discipline through this lens, it becomes far more motivating. However, discipline is not just about choosing what's best in the moment. It's also about understanding the power of consistency. Consistency is the key to turning discipline into lasting change. Without consistency, discipline becomes intermittent and your results will be unpredictable. Think about the process of learning to play a musical instrument. At first, it feels awkward and challenging. You may practice for hours, but it seems like little progress is being made. But with each consistent practice session, you build muscle memory, sharpen your skills, and improve your ability to play. In the same way, discipline and consistency work together to create lasting change. You may not see immediate results from every action you take, but you are building the foundation for success. When you practice discipline consistently, even in the smallest ways, you begin to change the neural pathways in your brain, creating new habits and reinforcing behaviors that support your long-term goals. So, how can you begin to cultivate discipline in your own life? The first step is to acknowledge that discipline is a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs to be trained. You start by setting clear, achievable goals that align with your purpose. Then, you take consistent action, no matter how small. The more you practice, the stronger your discipline becomes. But building discipline doesn't mean you need to do everything at once. One of the keys to sustained discipline is pacing yourself. It's easy to become overwhelmed when you try to change too many things at once. Instead, focus on one area of your life where you want to improve and give it your full attention. For instance, if you want to improve your health, start with one habit, perhaps walking for 30 minutes a day. Once that habit becomes ingrained, you can add more habits, building a foundation of consistent discipline that will support your larger goals. Another powerful tool for building discipline is accountability. When you hold yourself accountable to someone else, whether it's a friend, mentor, or coach, you create an external source of motivation. Accountability serves as a reminder of your commitment, and it provides an extra layer of support when you're tempted to give up. Whether it's checking in with a workout buddy or sharing your progress with a trusted friend, accountability creates a sense of responsibility that fuels your discipline. But perhaps the most important aspect of discipline is understanding that it's not about perfection. There will be times when you slip up. You might miss a workout, indulge in a treat you didn't plan for, or procrastinate on a task. But the key to discipline is not in avoiding mistakes entirely. It's in how you respond to them. When you slip up, instead of letting it derail your progress, you simply acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and get back on track. Discipline is about consistency, not perfection. It's about showing up day after day with the determination to keep moving forward no matter what. The power of discipline lies in its ability to compound over time. Each small step you take, each deliberate choice you make, builds upon the last. It's a gradual process, but over time, those small actions add up to significant, lasting change. Discipline isn't about dramatic transformations overnight. It's about the steady, consistent effort that leads to personal mastery. In the end, discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's the foundation upon which you can build your dreams. And when you understand that discipline is not something you have to force, but something that comes from purpose, consistency, and practice, you will begin to unlock the true power of self-control. Chapter 3. The Building Blocks of Discipline. Part 2. Now that we've explored the foundation of discipline, let's delve into some of the key principles that sustain it, particularly when life gets tough, when distractions become overwhelming, or when the path toward your goals seems unclear. True discipline doesn't emerge in the absence of challenges. It is forged in the face of adversity. It's in the moments when everything inside you urges you to quit. That discipline becomes the ultimate expression of your power. One of the key factors that sustain discipline is resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks. No journey toward any meaningful goal is without obstacles. Whether you're trying to lose weight, build a successful business, or improve your personal relationships, you will face moments of difficulty, doubt, and failure. Resilience, however, is not about avoiding these setbacks. It's about how you handle them when they inevitably arise. Think of a time when you faced a setback in your own life. Perhaps it was a business venture that failed, a personal goal you didn't meet, or a challenge that made you question whether you were on the right path. In that moment, you likely felt disheartened, maybe even defeated. And yet, it's not the setback itself that defines your future success. It's your response to it. Resilience is the muscle of the mind. It's the ability to get back up when you've been knocked down, to learn from your mistakes, and to keep moving forward. The true power of discipline is not in the absence of failure, but in the ability to maintain your focus and keep taking action despite those failures. Every time you get back up, you're strengthening your discipline, reinforcing the habit of perseverance, and moving closer to your long-term goals. Resilience also involves reframing the way you see failure. Instead of viewing setbacks as proof of inadequacy, now you learn to see them as stepping stones. Every mistake, every misstep carries valuable lessons that, if you allow them to, will propel you toward greater success. This shift in mindset from seeing failure as a barrier to seeing it as a part of the process is what makes resilience a cornerstone of discipline. Another critical aspect of sustaining discipline is patience. In today's fast-paced world, we are often conditioned to expect quick results. We want to see immediate progress, whether in our fitness, our career, or our personal growth. But the truth is, lasting change takes time. Real success is the result of gradual, consistent effort over time, not overnight transformations. Patience is essential for maintaining discipline because it allows you to stay focused on the long-term rewards, even when those rewards seem distant or uncertain. When you start a new project, especially one that requires significant effort, it's easy to become impatient. You may feel like you should be further along, or you may compare yourself to others who seem to be achieving results faster. This impatience can become a source of frustration and self-doubt, making it harder to stay committed. But when you embrace patience, you free yourself from the anxiety of immediate results and instead focus on the process. You learn to appreciate the small, incremental progress you make each day, and you trust that over time, your consistent efforts will lead to the success you desire. Patience also teaches you to embrace the journey, not just the destination. In our goal-oriented society, we often fixate on the end result, the promotion. Now the weight loss, the successful business. But the truth is, it's not the end result that will bring you the most satisfaction. It's the growth, the learning, and the progress you make along the way. The moments when you push through, when you do the work, even when you don't feel like it, are the moments that shape you into the person capable of achieving your goals. When discipline is paired with patience, it becomes a powerful combination that propels you toward lasting success. You develop the ability to keep moving forward, even when the results aren't immediate, and you build the mental fortitude necessary to overcome obstacles along the way. This is the essence of sustainable discipline, the combination of resilience and patience. But there's another key principle that enhances discipline, and that's focus. In a world of constant distractions from social media notifications to emails, to the pull of entertainment, maintaining focus is more challenging than ever. The ability to stay focused on the task at hand, especially when the world around you is demanding your attention, is one of the most powerful skills you can develop in cultivating discipline. Focus is the ability to direct your mental energy toward one thing, excluding everything else. It's about eliminating distractions and giving your full attention to the task at hand. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or never allow yourself breaks. It means that when you are working, you are fully present. When you are learning, you are completely engaged. When you are spending time with loved ones, you are truly there, without the distractions of technology or other concerns. In the context of discipline, focus allows you to direct your energy toward the most important tasks that will move you closer to your goals. Without focus, it's easy to waste time on trivial matters or get sidetracked by distractions that ultimately don't serve your long-term success. When you have the ability to focus, you make the most of your time and your energy, maximizing your productivity and the quality of your efforts. One of the best ways to improve focus is through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not only about emotional awareness, but also about staying present in the moment. By practicing mindfulness techniques, such as deep breathing or meditation, you train your mind to stay anchored in the present, resisting the urge to wander or give in to distractions. The more you practice mindfulness, the stronger your focus becomes and the easier it is to maintain discipline in your actions. Focus also requires you to prioritize your time. When you are disciplined, you understand that not all tasks are equal. Some tasks will move you closer to your goals, while others are simply distractions. By learning to focus on what truly matters on the activities that align with your purpose, you maximize your impact and your results. Finally, self-control is about recognizing the importance of rest. While discipline is about consistent action, it's also about knowing when to step back and recharge. Rest is not the enemy of discipline. In fact, it's an essential component of it. Without rest, you risk burning out, losing motivation, and ultimately sabotaging your own efforts. When you allow yourself time to rest, you restore your energy, improve your focus, and come back stronger, more committed, and more disciplined than before. Discipline is not about relentless hustle. It's about balanced, consistent effort. It's about knowing when to push forward and when to step back. It's about understanding that self-control isn't just about doing more. It's about doing what matters most and doing it with intention. With resilience, patience, focus, and rest, you build the foundation for long-lasting discipline. It's a foundation that allows you to stay the course, even when the journey is challenging, and to keep moving toward your goals with unwavering commitment. As you continue to strengthen your discipline, remember that each small action counts. Each decision you make to stay focused, to remain patient, and to keep pushing forward adds up over time. It is through these small, consistent choices that you build the life you've always wanted. Chapter 4. The Role of Habit. In the previous chapters, we've discussed the importance of self-control, discipline, and the power of understanding the mind. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most potent forces that shape our lives: habit. Habits are the invisible forces that guide our daily actions, thoughts, and behaviors. They can either propel us towards success or keep us stuck in unproductive cycles, often without us even realizing it. Habits are not just random actions. They are the results of patterns that our brains have learned over time. These patterns, once established, become automatic, which is why habits are so powerful. The human brain is wired to conserve energy, and the more efficiently it can perform a task, the less energy it needs to expend. When a habit is formed, it becomes a part of this efficiency. Tasks that once required conscious thought and effort eventually become automatic, freeing up mental energy for other activities. Think about brushing your teeth. As a child, you had to be reminded to do it. You had to think about the steps, pick up the toothbrush, apply toothpaste, brush each quadrant of your mouth for 2 minutes, and rinse. At first, it was a deliberate process that required conscious effort. But over time, as this behavior became ingrained, you no longer need to think about it. Your mind and body automatically go through the motions every morning and night. This is the power of habit. What was once a conscious decision is now an automatic part of your routine. But while habits can simplify our lives and make things more efficient, not all habits serve us. We all have habits, some good, some bad. The bad ones are often the ones that keep us from achieving our full potential. It could be the habit of procrastination, of mindlessly scrolling through social media, or the habit of eating unhealthy food when stressed. These habits, though automatic, have a significant impact on our lives, influencing our health, productivity, and overall well-being. The question, then, is not whether we have habits. We all do. The real question is, are your habits helping or hindering you? Are they aligned with the person you want to become, the goals you want to achieve, and the life you want to live? Or are they keeping you stuck in old patterns, limiting your growth and potential? So, one of the most powerful things you can do in your journey toward mastering self-control is to examine your habits. Awareness is the first step in transforming your habits. Once you recognize which habits are serving you and which are holding you back, you can begin to take conscious action to change them. Changing a habit is not as simple as deciding to stop it. The brain doesn't simply forget a habit because you want it to. Instead, the process of habit change involves replacing the old behavior with a new one. This is why willpower alone is rarely enough to break a bad habit. Willpower can help you resist temptation for a short time, but it's not a sustainable solution. Instead, the key is to focus on building new habits positive, empowering ones that will replace the old, unproductive ones. Let's break down how this works. When you decide to make a change, whether it's cutting out sugar from your diet or waking up earlier, the first step is to understand the structure of your current habit. All habits follow a simple three-step loop: the cue, the routine, and the reward. The cue is the trigger that prompts the habit. It could be something external, like a time of day, an environment, or an emotional state. It could also be internal, like a specific feeling or thought. For example, if you reach for a sugary snack every time you feel stressed, the cue is stress. The routine is the behavior that follows the cue. In this case, the routine would be grabbing the snack. It's the action you take when the cue occurs. The reward is the positive feeling or outcome that reinforces the habit. After eating the snack, you might feel momentarily relieved from stress or experience a rush of pleasure from the sweetness. This reward strengthens the habit loop, making it more likely that you will repeat the behavior the next time you feel stressed. The key to changing a habit is not to try to eliminate the cue or the reward, but to change the routine that occurs between them. If stress is the cue and eating a sugary snack is the routine, you can replace the snack with a healthier option, such as a piece of fruit or a quick walk outside. Over time, your brain will start associating stress with a new routine and reward, and the old habit will begin to fade. This process of habit change requires patience and persistence. It's not about trying to be perfect. It's about making consistent small changes that build over time. In fact, research suggests that it takes anywhere from 21 to 66 days to form a new habit, depending on the complexity of the behavior and the individual. The important thing is to stay committed to the process, even when it feels challenging. Every time you choose to practice a new habit, you are rewiring your brain and making it easier to continue the behavior in the future. But while it's crucial to focus on building new habits, it's equally important to be aware of the environment you're in. Our environment plays a significant role in shaping our behavior. When we are surrounded by distractions, unhealthy food, or negative influences, our habits are more likely to follow suit. If you want to change a habit, start by changing your environment. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, but your kitchen is stocked with junk food, now it will be much harder to make healthy choices. On the other hand, if you fill your kitchen with fresh fruits, vegetables, and healthy snacks, you're setting yourself up for success. By making small changes to your environment, you reduce the temptation to fall back into old habits. This principle applies to all areas of life. If you want to build a consistent exercise habit, create an environment that supports it. Lay out your workout clothes the night before, set a specific time each day for exercise, and remove any distractions that might prevent you from following through. The more you set up your environment for success, the easier it becomes to stay disciplined. Additionally, it's important to remember that habits are not just about behavior. They are also about identity. The way you see yourself and the beliefs you hold about who you are will influence the habits you develop. For example, if you identify as a healthy person, you are more likely to make choices that align with that identity. such as eating nutritious food, exercising regularly, and prioritizing your well-being. On the other hand, if you identify as someone who struggles with their weight or who isn't disciplined enough to stick to a healthy routine, you are more likely to fall into the habits that reinforce that identity. Changing your habits, therefore, requires shifting your identity. You must begin to see yourself as the person you want to become. The more you align your habits with your desired identity, the easier it becomes to make the right choices, even when the path is challenging. As we explore the power of habits in this chapter, it's important to remember that your habits are the small, everyday actions that compound over time to create the life you live. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is a building block for your future. When you start to take control of your habits, you take control of your life. You begin to shape your future through the power of small, consistent actions. In the next part of this chapter, we will look at the process of habit change in more detail, examining the science behind why some habits stick while others don't. We will also explore how you can use habit stacking, accountability, and other strategies to make new habits easier to form and more sustainable in the long run. Chapter 4. The Role of Habit. Part 2. Now that we've explored the foundational structure of habits, it's time to dive deeper into the process of habit change. Changing a habit isn't about simply willing yourself to stop the old behavior and replace it with the new one. The process is much more intricate and involves understanding the mechanics behind why habits stick and why they often don't. To begin, it's essential to understand the science of habit formation. Habits are created when our brain recognizes a consistent pattern of behavior that leads to a reward. As we've discussed, the three components of habit formation are the cue, the routine, and the reward. But what happens when a habit becomes ingrained? When you repeatedly perform a behavior, say, exercising every morning, your brain begins to link that behavior with a specific cue, like waking up or putting on workout clothes. Over time, and the brain starts to create neural pathways that make this behavior automatic. The more you repeat the behavior, the stronger these neural connections become, and the more automatic the behavior feels. Eventually, the routine becomes so ingrained that you no longer need to think about it. It happens almost effortlessly. However, the challenge comes when you try to change an established habit. Let's say you formed a habit of binge watching TV every evening, and now you want to replace it with a habit of reading before bed. The process of change requires you to first break the existing habit loop and then create a new loop in its place. This process isn't instantaneous, but with persistence and the right strategies, it is entirely possible. One of the most powerful strategies for changing habits is called habit stacking. Habit stacking involves taking an existing habit one that you already perform automatically and pairing it with a new habit you want to form. For example, if you already have the habit of brushing your teeth every morning, you could stack the habit of drinking a glass of water immediately after brushing your teeth. Over time, this new behavior will become associated with the existing habit, making it easier to remember and perform. The key to habit stacking is consistency. By stacking a new habit onto an already established one, you take advantage of the brain's natural tendency to link behaviors together. Over time, this new habit becomes just as automatic as the existing one. Another important factor in successful habit change is the concept of small wins. A small win is a manageable task that moves you in the right direction, but doesn't feel overwhelming. The idea is to break your larger goal into smaller, achievable actions. For example, if you want to start exercising but feel overwhelmed by the idea of a full workout routine, begin with a small win. Commit to a 10-minute walk every day. Once you build the habit of walking, you can gradually increase the time and intensity. The power of small wins lies in their ability to build momentum. When you experience success, even on a small scale, it boosts your confidence and reinforces your commitment to the new habit. This positive reinforcement creates a feedback loop that strengthens your discipline and motivates you to continue. Each small victory leads to the next until your new habit becomes firmly established. Now, While small wins and habit stacking can help in forming new habits, accountability plays a crucial role in the process of change. When you are held accountable by another person, you increase your likelihood of sticking to your new habit. This external layer of responsibility creates a sense of commitment beyond just your own willpower. You're no longer just letting yourself down if you fail to follow through, you're also letting down someone else. Accountability can come in many forms. It could be as simple as telling a friend about your goal and asking them to check in with you regularly. Or it could involve working with a coach, mentor, or accountability partner who helps you stay on track and offers encouragement when you encounter obstacles. The key is to have someone who is invested in your success and who will hold you accountable for your actions and inactions. Another strategy to enhance the power of accountability is tracking your progress. When you track your habits, you create a tangible record of your efforts. This record serves as both a reminder of how far you've come and a tool for making adjustments if necessary. Many people find that the simple act of writing down their goals or checking off a habit on a daily checklist is a powerful motivator. It gives them a sense of accomplishment and reinforces the habit they are trying to build. But even with accountability and tracking, the most important ingredient in habit change is self-compassion. As you work to change your habits, it's easy to become frustrated with yourself if you slip up or fall short of your expectations. However, beating yourself up for mistakes will only undermine your efforts and make it harder to stay on track. Self-compassion allows you to acknowledge your mistakes without judgment and to view setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures. When you slip up, rather than focusing on guilt or shame, practice self-compassion. Recognize that everyone makes mistakes and that this is simply part of the process. Instead of abandoning your goal altogether, take the opportunity to reflect on what went wrong, make adjustments, and keep moving forward. The ability to show yourself kindness and understanding will make it easier to persist in the face of challenges and will help you stay committed to your long-term goals. This is especially important because habit change is not linear. There will be ups and downs, and there will be times when you feel like you're not making progress. It's crucial to recognize that these moments of struggle do not define your journey. What matters is that you keep going, even when it feels difficult. Remember that it's the consistency of small actions, repeated over time, that leads to meaningful change. Finally, remember that the power of habit is not just about individual achievement, it's about creating a lifestyle that aligns with your values and goals. When your habits are aligned with your deeper sense of purpose, they become the foundation for a fulfilling and meaningful life. It's not about forcing yourself to follow a strict regimen or adhering to a set of rules. It's about designing a life where your daily habits naturally support the person you want to become. As you begin to cultivate positive habits, fight to remember that the process takes time. It requires patience, persistence, and an understanding that lasting change is built on small, consistent actions. But with the right strategies, including habit stacking, small wins, accountability, and self-compassion, you can reprogram your habits to support your long-term success. Chapter 5. Building Lasting Change. The journey of self-control, discipline, and habit formation brings us to a crucial point: creating lasting change. True transformation is not just about achieving a goal, checking off a box, or getting to the finish line. It's about building a new way of living that supports the person you want to become, continuously refining your actions and mindsets to ensure they remain aligned with your deeper values and purpose. Change that sticks is built on a solid foundation of consistency, reflection, and a deep understanding of why you're making these changes in the first place. While it's easy to get motivated by short bursts of inspiration, like at the start of a new year or after hearing a motivational speech, long-term transformation requires something far more substantial: a commitment to the process itself. Let's start by considering why most change efforts fail. The reason is simple. Many people attempt to change without a strong, clear reason for doing so. They focus only on what the goal or the result, without fully understanding the why. Without a powerful, deeply personal reason for change, the process of transformation becomes fragile. The moment things get difficult or when motivation wanes, the commitment fades because there is no deeper connection to the goal. Think of it this way. If your reason for wanting to lose weight is simply because of external pressure, for example, to fit into a certain dress for a wedding, or to please someone else, the motivation will likely dissipate once the immediate event is over. But if your reason for wanting to lose weight is to improve your health, feel more energetic, and be able to enjoy life to its fullest, you have a purpose that goes far beyond a temporary goal. This deeper connection to your reason makes the process of change meaningful, making it easier to stay committed, even when challenges arise. The first step in building lasting change is to reflect on your deeper motivations. Ask yourself, why do you want to make these changes? What is the underlying reason behind your goals? Take time to really connect with your purpose. Is it about improving your health, achieving financial independence, creating more fulfilling relationships? The clearer and more connected you are to your reason for change, the more likely you are to succeed in sustaining it. Once you've solidified your why, the next key element of lasting change is consistency. Consistency is the true power behind any transformation. It's not about how fast you can change or how much effort you put in during the first week. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, and making progress toward your goal, no matter how small. Imagine building a wall brick by brick. Each action you take toward your goal is like laying a brick in place. The wall won't be built in one day. It takes time. But over weeks and months, those small, consistent actions accumulate, and before long, you have something solid, something lasting. The key to this process is understanding that the results come from the small actions, repeated over time. Every day you choose to stay disciplined, even in small ways, you're moving closer to your ultimate goal. Consistency is a muscle that grows stronger the more you use it. In the beginning, it might feel challenging, especially when the results are not immediately visible. But as you stay the course, discipline and consistency become second nature. You start to build momentum, and it becomes easier to keep going, even when the going gets tough. This is why it's so important to commit to the process, not just the result. But consistency doesn't just mean doing something every day, it means doing it in a way that feels sustainable. If you push yourself too hard at the start, you might burn out. The key to sustainable consistency is to start small, focus on what you can realistically do every day, and gradually increase the effort as you build the habit. This is why small wins are so important. When you focus on achieving small, manageable steps, you give yourself the chance to succeed, and success breeds motivation. Consistency also involves making adjustments as needed. Life is not static, and neither are your goals. There will be times when your plan needs to be tweaked, whether because of unexpected challenges or new opportunities. The ability to stay consistent, even when things aren't going exactly as planned, is what separates those who experience lasting change from those who give up at the first sign of difficulty. You don't need to be rigid. You simply need to stay committed to your bigger vision, even if that means adapting along the way. Another crucial element of lasting change is accountability. As we discussed earlier, accountability provides an external layer of responsibility that can help keep you on track. But accountability goes beyond simply reporting to someone else. It's about being accountable to yourself. When you make a commitment to change, you're not just promising someone else that you'll follow through. You are making a promise to yourself that you will take ownership of your life and your decisions. The most powerful form of accountability is self-accountability. It means being honest with yourself, even when no one else is watching. It means showing up, doing the work, and following through, even when it's difficult. This level of self-accountability requires self-respect and self-awareness. It means being aware of your own patterns and holding yourself to a higher standard, not out of perfectionism, but out of a deep desire to live in alignment with your values and goals. While external accountability, such as a coach, mentor, or support group, can be helpful, self-accountability is what truly drives lasting change. It's about creating a relationship with yourself where you honor your word and stay true to the promises you make, not just to others, but to yourself. When you build a habit of self-accountability, you strengthen your self-control and increase your commitment to long-term success. The final element of lasting change is patience. When we set out to achieve a goal, we often want to see immediate results. We live in a world where instant gratification is everywhere, from fast food to on-demand entertainment. However, real transformation doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and it takes effort. Patience is not passive, it's an active quality that allows you to persist through the ups and downs of the journey. It means recognizing that progress is often slow, but each small step forward is significant. Patience teaches you to trust the process, even when the results aren't immediate, and to keep going because you know that every action you take is moving you closer to your goal. In moments of impatience, remember that lasting change is not about rushing to the finish line. It's about building something sustainable, something that will last far beyond the initial excitement of a new goal. When you learn to embrace patience, you begin to shift your focus from instant rewards to long-term fulfillment. You understand that true success is the result of persistent, consistent effort over time. Creating lasting change isn't about doing more or pushing harder. It's about being patient, consistent, and accountable. It's about focusing on the process, not just the result. And when you align your actions with your deeper purpose, when you commit to the journey of transformation, you create the life you desire, brick by brick, step by step. As you continue on your journey toward lasting change, one of the most important aspects to consider is your relationship with failure. We've all heard that failure is a part of the process, but embracing this truth on a deeper level is where true transformation begins. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of success. It is a natural, necessary component of any meaningful pursuit, and how you respond to failure determines whether you will continue moving forward or give up. In the past, you may have viewed failure as something to be avoided, something that defines you, diminishes your self-worth, or signals the end of your efforts. But this perspective is limiting. The reality is that failure is simply feedback. It is information. Every time you fail, you gain valuable insights into what works and what doesn't, and how you can adjust your approach to be more effective in the future. Think about a time when you failed at something important. Perhaps it was a business venture that didn't succeed, a relationship that ended, or a personal goal that slipped away. In the moment, it may have felt like the end of the world, but if you look back now, you may see the lessons you learned in that experience. Maybe you learned what you need to do differently next time, or maybe you gained clarity about what really matters to you. The key is that failure provides an opportunity for growth if you are willing to embrace it as such. The process of building lasting change requires you to develop resilience in the face of failure. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from setbacks, to get back up, and keep going even when the path forward is unclear. It's the strength to maintain your vision, even when things don't go as planned. One of the ways you can cultivate resilience is by reframing your perception of failure. Instead of seeing failure as something that defines you, view it as a learning experience. When you fail, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I adjust my approach to ensure a better outcome next time? This mindset shift turns failure into a stepping stone, rather than a roadblock. Building resilience also means learning to manage your emotions. When you experience failure, it's natural to feel disappointment, frustration, or even self-doubt. These emotions are not wrong. They are part of being human. However, allowing these emotions to dictate your behavior can prevent you from moving forward. Resilience is about acknowledging your emotions without letting them control your actions. It's about feeling the disappointment, then processing it, and then choosing to act with purpose, regardless of how you feel. Another important aspect of building lasting change is the practice of reflection. Reflecting on your experiences, both positive and negative, allows you to gain clarity and insight. Reflection is the bridge between action and learning. Without it, we repeat the same mistakes, trapped in old patterns. But when you take time to reflect, you begin to understand the deeper forces at play, the subconscious beliefs, emotions, and habits that shape your behavior. Reflection can take many forms. It might involve journaling, meditating, or simply taking quiet time to think. The key is to make it a regular practice, one that helps you evaluate your progress, learn from your setbacks, and adjust your approach. Reflection also allows you to celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Each step forward, each small success, deserves recognition. It is through reflection that you begin to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. However, reflection alone is not enough. Action is the other half of the equation. Reflecting on your goals, progress, and setbacks without taking concrete steps toward improvement can lead to stagnation. Change requires action, and action requires discipline. This is where the intersection of reflection and consistent effort becomes powerful. When you reflect on your actions, ask yourself, what worked well? What could I have done differently? What small changes can I make to improve? These questions guide your future actions, making them more intentional and aligned with your long-term goals. Every reflection should lead to an actionable step, whether it's adjusting a habit, trying a new approach, or making a commitment to stay the course. Sustaining change also involves creating a support system that reinforces your commitment. While self-accountability is crucial, having a network of support is equally important. Change can feel isolating at times, and there will be moments when you feel like giving up. During these moments, the people around you can offer encouragement, share their experiences, and hold you accountable. Surround yourself with individuals who understand your goals and who are willing to support you in your journey. Having a support system is not just about getting encouragement when things are tough. It's about creating an environment that is conducive to growth. The people you spend time with can either elevate you or hold you back. If you surround yourself with individuals who are committed to their own growth, who inspire you to be your best, and who challenge you to keep going, you'll find that change becomes much easier. But the most important part of sustaining lasting change is to develop the habit of self-reflection and continuous growth. Change doesn't stop once you reach your goal. It is a lifelong process. When you reach one milestone, there will be another waiting for you. The key is to never stop learning, never stop evolving, and never stop striving to be the best version of yourself. Lasting change is not a destination, it's a journey. As you continue this journey, remember that transformation is a continuous process. Every step you take, every action you make, adds to the foundation of the life you are building. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about progress. It's about growing, learning, and becoming more aligned with the person you want to be. Transformation requires the courage to change, the resilience to face setbacks, the patience to allow time for growth, and the consistency to keep moving forward. And it requires a deep understanding that true change is about shifting your identity from someone who is merely trying to succeed to someone who is committed to living in alignment with their values, their goals, and their purpose. When you embody this sense of transformation, you begin to see that every day is an opportunity to make progress, no matter how small. You start to recognize that the power to change your life is within you now, and that every choice you make, every habit you build, every action you take is a reflection of the person you're becoming. Lasting change is not about instant results or quick fixes. It's about creating a life that is true to you, one choice at a time. It's about building a future where your actions reflect your deepest values and where your habits support the person you want to become. This journey may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. With every small step you take, you're moving closer to the life you want to create, a life of lasting, meaningful change. Chapter 6. The Psychology of Willpower. Now that we've explored self-control, discipline, habits, and the process of lasting change, we must turn our attention to one of the most critical components that influence our ability to stay on track: willpower. Willpower is often thought of as a finite resource, something that can be depleted as the day goes on. but in reality, it is far more complex. Understanding the psychology of willpower, how it works, how it can be strengthened, and how it can be sustained is essential to mastering the art of self-control. At its core, willpower is the ability to resist short-term temptations in order to meet long-term goals. It's what helps you stick to your commitments, even when the path becomes difficult or when the urge to give in is overwhelming. Willpower is what keeps you going during moments of fatigue, distraction, and frustration. It is the force that pushes you to keep moving forward, even when you don't feel like it. But willpower is not simply a matter of just trying harder. It's a complex psychological mechanism that is influenced by a variety of factors, from our emotions and physical state to our beliefs about our own abilities. It's also influenced by how we manage our environment and how well we understand the forces at play within our minds. One of the most important things to understand about willpower is that it is not an unlimited resource. Research has shown that willpower operates like a muscle. It can be drained with use and replenished with rest. Just as lifting weights tires your muscles, using your willpower to resist temptations and stay disciplined can deplete your mental energy. This is why self-control becomes more difficult as the day goes on by the time you've made a series of decisions and resisted several temptations. Your willpower's lower, and it becomes harder to stay on track. This phenomenon is known as ego depletion, and it's a concept that was first explored by psychologist Roy Baumeister. Baumeister's research showed that after making a series of decisions or exerting self-control in one area, people have less willpower available to make further decisions or resist additional temptations. For example, if you've spent the day making tough choices at work or resisting unhealthy food, you may find that it's harder to resist checking your phone or giving in to another small temptation later in the evening. But here's the good news. While willpower is limited in the short term, it can also be strengthened over time. Just like a muscle, willpower can be built through consistent practice and by developing habits that support your self-control. When you consistently practice small acts of self-discipline, you begin to strengthen your ability to resist temptation and stay focused on your goals. The key to this process is understanding that willpower is not about being perfect. It's about building resilience, developing the mental strength to keep going even when you feel tired or when your willpower feels depleted. Just as athletes train their bodies to withstand physical exhaustion, you can train your mind to withstand mental fatigue. Over time, with consistent practice, you can build your willpower to the point where it becomes a reliable source of strength in achieving your long-term goals. One of the most effective ways to build willpower is through the practice of small, manageable challenges. By starting with small tasks that require self-control, you gradually build up your mental strength. For example, if you struggle with procrastination, start by committing to working for just 10 minutes without distractions. Gradually increase the time, and over time, you'll notice that your ability to focus and resist distractions improves. These small wins, while seemingly insignificant, build a foundation for greater willpower and self-discipline. Another key to strengthening willpower is to reduce the number of decisions you need to make each day. Decision fatigue is a real phenomenon. The more decisions we have to make, the less willpower we have left to make them effectively. One of the best ways to conserve willpower is to simplify your routine. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, prepare your meals in advance so that you don't have to decide what to eat every day. By reducing the number of decisions you need to make, you conserve your mental energy and leave more willpower for the important tasks that truly matter. One of the most powerful ways to improve willpower is to create a supportive environment. Willpower is influenced by the people, places, and things around us. When you surround yourself with positive influences and remove distractions, you make it easier to stay on track. If you're trying to stop smoking, for example, you might avoid places where you would be tempted to smoke, or spend time with people who encourage your progress rather than undermine it. The environment you create has a direct impact on your ability to exercise self-control. When you intentionally set up your surroundings to support your goals, you make it easier to resist temptation and stay focused on your long-term vision. This could mean eliminating distractions from your workspace, surrounding yourself with motivational reminders, or enlisting the support of a friend or mentor to keep you accountable. But perhaps the most important aspect of willpower is self-compassion. Many people assume that willpower is about forcing yourself to be strong, but in reality, it's about being kind to yourself, especially when things don't go as planned. When you slip up, when you fall short of your goals, it's easy to beat yourself up and lose confidence. However, self-compassion allows you to recognize that mistakes are a natural part of the process. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting back on track, learning from your experiences, and continuing to move forward. Self-compassion is crucial because it reduces the emotional toll that failure can take on your willpower. When you're kind to yourself, you're less likely to give up entirely after a setback. Instead of viewing failure as a reflection of your inadequacy, you see it as a learning opportunity. This shift in mindset strengthens your willpower by allowing you to stay focused on the long-term goal rather than getting bogged down in temporary setbacks. But building and sustaining willpower is not just about mental toughness. It's also about physical health. Research has shown that physical well-being plays a significant role in our mental resilience. When we're well-rested, nourished, and physically active, we are more capable of exercising self-control. In contrast, when we are tired, stressed, or hungry, our willpower is depleted, making it harder to stay disciplined. One of the most effective ways to boost willpower is by taking care of your body. Prioritize sleep, eat nutritious food, and engage in regular physical activity. These habits not only improve your physical health, but also boost your mental clarity, emotional stability, and overall ability to exercise self-control. The healthier your body is, the stronger your mind becomes, and the more capable you are of resisting temptation and staying focused on your goals. Finally, it's important to understand that willpower is not a permanent state. It ebbs and flows throughout the day, depending on your energy levels, your environment, and your emotional state. This is why it's so important to manage your willpower wisely. Use your willpower for the tasks that matter most, and give yourself permission to rest when you need to recharge. Don't expect to have endless willpower every moment of the day, but rather, learn to use it strategically and consciously. The power of willpower lies in understanding its limits and treating it with respect. When you align your willpower with your values, manage it wisely, and build a supportive environment, you unlock its full potential. Willpower becomes less of a struggle and more of a tool that works for you, guiding you toward the life you want to create. Let's explore how you can build and sustain willpower in practical, day-to-day situations. The ability to harness willpower is not just about resisting temptation when it comes. It's about setting yourself up for success before those temptations even arise. And true strength of willpower comes when you proactively manage your environment, your emotions, and your habits in such a way that you make it easier to stay disciplined. One of the key strategies in sustaining willpower is to focus on creating an environment that minimizes temptation. As we've seen before, our environment plays a huge role in shaping our behavior. When we are surrounded by distractions or unhealthy choices, the effort required to exercise willpower becomes significantly harder. On the other hand, when we take the time to curate an environment that supports our goals, we make it easier to stay on track. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, the first step is to remove unhealthy foods from your immediate environment. Don't keep junk food in your kitchen or your pantry where it's easily accessible. Instead, stock your home with fresh produce, healthy snacks, and nutritious options. This simple change makes it much easier to resist the temptation to grab unhealthy snacks when you're hungry or stressed. Instead, you'll have to make a conscious decision to go out of your way to buy junk food, which is an added barrier. This principle extends beyond food. If you're working on building a habit of reading every day, create an environment that encourages reading. Put books in places where you'll naturally see them, on your nightstand, on your desk, or on the coffee table. Create a cozy reading nook where you can escape from distractions. The more you design your space to support your goals, the easier it will be to stay focused and resist distractions. But creating a supportive environment is not just about removing temptations, it's also about surrounding yourself with positive influences. Think about the people in your life and how they affect your ability to stay disciplined. If you're surrounded by people who are constantly making excuses or undermining your efforts, it's going to be harder to maintain willpower. However, when you spend time with people who share your values, who encourage your progress, and who hold you accountable, you're far more likely to succeed in your goals. This doesn't mean cutting ties with everyone who doesn't align with your current ambitions, but it does mean being mindful of who you spend time with. Seek out mentors, accountability partners, or communities that support the kind of person you are striving to become. When you have a solid support system in place, you're less likely to slip into old patterns of behavior because you're surrounded by influences that reinforce your discipline. However, even with a supportive environment and strong willpower, there will inevitably be moments when you feel fatigued, stressed, or emotionally overwhelmed. These are the moments when willpower is most tested. It's in these moments of mental and emotional exhaustion that we're most likely to make impulsive decisions. But there is a solution, and it lies in understanding the connection between willpower and energy. Willpower and energy are closely tied together. Just as your muscles get fatigued after physical exercise, your willpower becomes depleted after mental exertion. This is why it's so important to take care of your energy. When you prioritize rest, relaxation, and rejuvenation, you replenish not only your physical body, but also your mental and emotional strength. Sleep, for example, is one of the most powerful tools you have for maintaining willpower. Lack of sleep has been shown to impair decision-making, increase impulsivity, and make it more difficult to resist temptation. When you don't get enough rest, your mind becomes foggy, and your ability to make disciplined, thoughtful choices is diminished. By ensuring you get adequate sleep every night, you help maintain your mental clarity and decision-making ability, making it easier to stay disciplined. Exercise is another way to boost your energy and willpower. Physical activity doesn't just strengthen your body, it strengthens your mind. Regular exercise has been shown to improve cognitive function, reduce stress, and increase overall energy levels. It also boosts your mood by releasing endorphins, making it easier to stay positive and focused throughout the day. When you feel good physically, you're more likely to feel good mentally, and this boosts your capacity for willpower. But beyond rest and physical activity, managing your emotional state is equally important in maintaining willpower. Emotional exhaustion can be just as debilitating as physical fatigue. When you're emotionally drained, it's easy to fall into patterns of avoidance or self-sabotage. This is why emotional regulation is an essential skill in cultivating willpower. One of the most powerful ways to manage your emotions is through mindfulness practices. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully present in the moment, observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It allows you to step back from the emotional turbulence of the moment and create space between stimulus and response. This space is where willpower resides, the ability to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond rather than simply reacting impulsively. Mindfulness helps you become more aware of your emotional triggers. If you know that stress leads you to overeat or that frustration leads to procrastination, mindfulness allows you to recognize these patterns in real time. By practicing mindfulness regularly, you strengthen your ability to respond to emotions in a way that aligns with your long-term goals, rather than simply reacting in the moment. In addition to mindfulness, another powerful tool for managing emotional stress is self-compassion. Self-compassion allows you to be kind to yourself during moments of failure or struggle, and it helps you acknowledge your mistakes and setbacks without judgment, allowing you to continue moving forward with a sense of peace rather than guilt or shame. When you are compassionate with yourself, you reduce the emotional weight that comes with failure, making it easier to stay committed to your goals. Self-compassion also makes it easier to forgive yourself when you slip up. Instead of letting one mistake derail your progress, you can acknowledge it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. This is crucial in maintaining your willpower over the long term. One final key to sustaining willpower is understanding the importance of delayed rewards. We live in a world where instant gratification is constantly available: social media, fast food, on demand entertainment. And it's easy to get caught in the cycle of seeking immediate pleasure. However, real, lasting success comes from resisting the temptation of instant rewards in favor of long term goals. Delaying gratification is a practice, one that becomes easier the more you do it. By consciously choosing long term rewards over short term pleasures, you rewire your brain to seek fulfillment through achievement and progress rather than through fleeting distractions. This practice of delayed gratification is one of the most effective ways to strengthen willpower and build sustainable change. True willpower is about mastering your impulses and aligning your actions with your long term vision. It's about creating a life that is driven by purpose, discipline, and intention, rather than being controlled by temporary desires. When you harness the power of willpower, you unlock the potential for lasting transformation and the ability to achieve your most meaningful goals. Chapter 7: Living with Self-Mastery. In the previous chapters, we've explored the foundational elements of self-control, discipline, habit formation, and the psychology of willpower. Now, we come to the final piece of the puzzle: living with self-mastery. Self-mastery is the ultimate goal of all the principles we've discussed. It is the art of governing your thoughts, emotions, and actions in alignment with your deeper purpose and values. When you live with self-mastery, you take full responsibility for the life you create, and you approach every day with intention, discipline, and the power to shape your future. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It's not about being free from mistakes or challenges. Instead, it's about having the ability to rise above the circumstances that might throw you off course and choose to act in a way that supports your highest self. It is the ability to stay true to your values, even in the face of temptation or adversity. It's about creating a life that is a reflection of the person you aspire to be every single day. One of the first steps in living with self-mastery is accepting that you are the creator of your reality. This means acknowledging that every decision you make, no matter how small, contributes to the life you are building. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that circumstances outside of your control dictate your future. But the truth is, you have far more control over your life than you may realize. Your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, all of these are within your sphere of influence. When you take full ownership of your life, you shift from being a passive participant to an active creator. You begin to realize that the way you respond to life's challenges, the way you make decisions, and the way you manage your time and energy are all within your control. This realization is empowering because it puts you in the driver's seat. You're no longer at the mercy of your circumstances. You have the power to steer your life in the direction you want to go. Self-mastery also requires an understanding of your deeper motivations and desires. To live with self-mastery, you must first understand who you are, what you stand for, and what you truly want out of life. This requires introspection, self-awareness, and the willingness to ask yourself the difficult questions. What are my values? What is my purpose? What legacy do I want to leave behind? These questions may not have easy answers, and it's okay if you don't have everything figured out right away. The process of self-mastery is ongoing. It's about committing to the journey of growth and self-discovery, knowing that your values and purpose may evolve over time. The key is to stay in alignment with your core beliefs and continue making decisions that are congruent with your true self. As you begin to live with self-mastery, one of the most important aspects to cultivate is emotional intelligence. The ability to understand and manage your emotions is a critical skill in maintaining control over your actions and decisions. Emotions are powerful forces that can either propel you toward your goals or derail your progress. When you allow your emotions to control your actions, you give away your power. But when you learn to manage your emotions, you gain the ability to respond to situations with wisdom, patience, and clarity. Living with self-mastery means recognizing that your emotions, while valid, do not have to dictate your behavior. You are not your emotions, you are the observer of them. This distinction is essential because it allows you to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond. You can acknowledge feelings of anger, fear, or frustration without allowing them to take control of your actions. This emotional awareness and regulation is one of the most powerful tools you have in mastering your life. Another aspect of self mastery is the ability to maintain a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and character are not fixed, but can be developed and improved through effort and learning. People with a growth mindset view challenges as opportunities for growth, rather than obstacles to success. They embrace failure as a natural part of the learning process, and they are willing to put in the hard work necessary to achieve their goals. Living with a growth mindset means understanding that every setback is a chance to learn and grow. It's about shifting from a fixed mindset, one that believes you're either good at something or you're not, to a mindset that embraces continuous improvement. When you live with a growth mindset, you become more resilient, more adaptable, and more open to new possibilities. A growth mindset also helps you maintain motivation over the long term. When you focus on the process of learning and growth, rather than solely on the outcome, you enjoy the journey and stay committed even when progress seems slow. You begin to see challenges not as signs of failure, but as signs of progress. Every challenge you overcome becomes a stepping stone, taking you closer to your ultimate goals. At the core of self mastery is also the ability to prioritize what truly matters. In our modern world, we are constantly bombarded with distractions. Social media, entertainment, and countless other diversions can easily pull us away from the things that are most important to us. But living with self mastery means learning to focus on what truly contributes to your long term success and well being. And this requires learning to say no to things that are not aligned with your values or goals. It's about being intentional with your time and energy and not allowing external influences to dictate how you spend your days. This doesn't mean that you should become rigid or inflexible. Leisure and relaxation are also important for maintaining balance. But it does mean that you must be intentional about where you place your focus. When you prioritize what truly matters, you create space for the things that will help you grow and achieve your long-term goals. Self-mastery also involves practicing gratitude and acceptance. Life is full of challenges and obstacles, but how you respond to them determines your experience. When you live with self-mastery, you understand that challenges are not obstacles to be avoided, but opportunities for growth. You begin to practice gratitude for the lessons that life offers, even when those lessons are difficult. You accept that life is not always going to go according to plan, and that's okay. The key is to maintain your focus on what you can control and to find peace in the process of growth. Living with self-mastery doesn't mean that you are immune to difficulties or that you always have perfect control over your thoughts and actions. It means that you have the tools, the mindset, and the determination to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. It means that you understand that true power comes from within, from your ability to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions, regardless of external circumstances. When you live with self-mastery, you become the master of your own destiny. But you stop waiting for life to happen to you and start creating the life you want. You align your actions with your deepest values and your long-term goals, and you make decisions that move you closer to the person you want to become. Self-mastery is not about perfection, but about progress. It's about continuously evolving, learning, and growing into the best version of yourself. Living with self-mastery requires an ongoing commitment to growth. It's not about reaching a final destination, but about continually honing your ability to make choices that are aligned with your deepest desires. As you continue to strengthen your self-control, discipline, and habits, you start to see the fruits of your labor. You begin to feel the difference between living reactively, at the mercy of your emotions and external circumstances, and then living deliberately, with a sense of purpose and control. But even as you make progress towards self-mastery, there will be times when you feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or stuck. The path to mastery is not a straight line. There will be bumps, detours, and moments of doubt. This is where your ability to stay grounded and maintain your focus becomes essential. One of the greatest tools in your journey of self-mastery is the practice of reflection. Reflection allows you to step back and take stock of where you are. It provides a space to evaluate your progress, assess your challenges, and realign your actions with your long-term goals. Without reflection, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle of daily life, lost in the noise of distractions, and unaware of how far you've come or where you might be going. Reflection is not about beating yourself up over mistakes or missed opportunities. It's about looking at your experiences with an open mind, seeing what worked, what didn't, and what you can learn from each moment. It's the process of evaluating your choices without judgment, but with a sense of curiosity and a desire to grow. A powerful practice in self-reflection is journaling. By writing down your thoughts, feelings, and experiences, you create an opportunity for deeper self-awareness. Journaling allows you to track your progress, identify patterns, and recognize moments where you need to adjust your approach. It's a way to connect with your inner self and keep yourself accountable. Whether you do it every day or a few times a week, the act of journaling brings clarity to your goals, helping you understand where you've been and where you want to go. Another form of reflection is meditation. Meditation provides the mental space to connect with your deeper consciousness, to quiet the noise of daily life, and to listen to your inner wisdom. It's a practice that helps you build emotional resilience and mental clarity, essential components of self-mastery. When you meditate, you're not just practicing stillness. You are developing a deeper understanding of your mind, your impulses, and the automatic patterns of thought that drive your actions. Through meditation, you can learn to observe your thoughts without becoming attached to them. You can notice the urges and desires that arise without feeling the need to act on them. This ability to detach from your thoughts and emotions is one of the most empowering aspects of self-mastery. It allows you to take a step back from the immediate impulse and choose how to respond rather than simply reacting out of habit or emotion. Along with reflection, another critical practice in living with self-mastery is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment, of experiencing each task, each interaction, and each emotion with full awareness. It's about bringing your full attention to whatever you're doing without distraction or judgment. In our fast-paced multitasking world, mindfulness can be a challenge. We are constantly bombarded with information and distractions that make it difficult to focus. Yet, it is through mindfulness that we gain the ability to make better decisions, to act with intention, and to stay aligned with our values. For example, when you practice mindfulness during meals, you may notice how quickly you eat, how much you enjoy each bite, and whether you're truly hungry or eating out of habit. When you practice mindfulness while working, you become more aware of your focus, of how distractions pull you away from your tasks, and of how much effort is required to stay disciplined. Mindfulness sharpens your awareness and helps you recognize where you need to redirect your attention in order to stay on course. As you continue to grow and refine your ability to live with self-mastery, it's also crucial to understand the power of self-forgiveness. No one is perfect, and there will be moments when you make mistakes or slip up. Okay, and the key is not in avoiding failure, but in how you handle it when it arises. When you forgive yourself for mistakes, you release the weight of guilt and shame that can keep you stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage. Instead of dwelling on past errors, you acknowledge them, learn from them, and move forward with renewed focus and determination. Self-forgiveness allows you to remain compassionate with yourself, even in moments of struggle. It keeps you grounded in the understanding that your growth is a journey, not a destination, and that each setback is just another opportunity to learn and evolve. Self-mastery also involves aligning your actions with your values and purpose. This is where discipline meets passion. When you live in alignment with your core values, your actions feel meaningful. They become an expression of who you are at your deepest level, not just a means to an end. This alignment is the fuel that keeps you moving forward, even in the face of adversity. For example, if one of your core values is health, then your daily habits, the food you eat, the exercise you do, the rest you get all reflect that value. Living in alignment with your values makes self-mastery feel natural. Your actions are no longer forced. They come from a place of deep purpose. You no longer need to rely solely on willpower or discipline because your actions flow from the very core of who you are. This alignment is also reflected in your relationships. When you are living with self-mastery, your relationships are not based on fleeting emotions or external validation. They are rooted in respect, authenticity, and mutual support. Because self-mastery means knowing when to set boundaries, when to say no, and when to invest your time and energy in people who align with your values. Your relationships become a reflection of the person you've worked hard to become, strong, empowered, and grounded in your truth. Living with self-mastery is a continual process of refinement. It's not about getting everything right all the time. It's about committing to the process of growth and self-discovery. Every day is an opportunity to strengthen your self-control, deepen your emotional intelligence, and stay true to your values. It's about learning to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience, without losing sight of the person you aspire to be. As you move forward on your journey of self-mastery, remember that it's not about perfection, it's about progress. You're not striving for an idealized version of yourself. You're simply committed to becoming the best version of yourself day by day. You are embracing the journey, not just the destination. And in doing so, you are creating a life that is aligned with your deepest desires and values. In the end, self-mastery is the greatest gift you can give yourself. It is the key to unlocking your full potential, to living a life of purpose and fulfillment, and to becoming the person you were always meant to be.